Throughout NXT's history, the brand has had its fair share of some of the most dominant factions of all time. From factions such as the Shield to factions like Toxic Attraction to other factions such as Diamond Mine and Fatal Influence. But not one of those factions and more came close to the dominance of the Undisputed Era. As I'm trying to fix my... There we go. As I was saying, not one of those factions came close to the Undisputed Era. First formed by none other than Adam Cole, baby, in August of 2017 at NXT Takeover New York, at NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3, right after a main event. Adam Cole teamed up with Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly to form the faction that we knew as the Undisputed Era. As I mentioned, it was first formed by Adam Cole. On August 19th, 2017. That was the night as I just mentioned of NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3. Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly got involved in the NXT Tag Team title match that featured Sanity against the Authors of Pain. They got involved they got involved in that match after Sanity picked up a massive victory over the Authors of Pain, thus showing the world that Red Dragon, as they called themselves, wanted the NXT Tag Team titles. The main event of Takeover Brooklyn 3 showed Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Roode for the NXT title. Fish and O'Reilly were standing on the apron, staring a hole at the Scottish Psychopath before Adam Cole jumped McIntyre from behind, and all three men attacked the then NXT champion. Throughout their whole careers, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, and Adam Cole had dominated the independent scene, whether it was Ring of Honor or whether it was New Japan Pro Wrestling. Those three men knew how to get the job done. And throughout their time in NXT, they went on to do big things as a trio. Fish and O'Reilly became NXT tag team champions a little over a year after their initial debut. Then we fast forward to NXT Takeover New Orleans, where Adam Cole became the first ever NXT North American champion. That same night, Adam Cole had to defend the NXT tag team titles alongside Kyle O'Reilly in a triple threat that also featured the finals of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic tournament, which featured not only themselves but also Sanity and the Authors of Pain. Actually, let me rephrase that. It wasn't Sanity that was in that match. It was the team of Pete Dunne, the Bruiserweight, and Roderick Strong. And as Pete Dunne was looking to pick up the victory for his team, Roderick Strong did the unthinkable and joined the Undisputed Era. Why? Simple. He had a lot of business with Adam Cole, with Bobby Fish, and with Kyle O'Reilly throughout their careers on the independent scene. And thus, the Undisputed Era was complete. They went on to win multiple NXT year-end awards for Match of the Year, Tag Team of the Year, faction of the year, and even Adam Cole won a Year in the War for male superstar, or actually sorry, for breakout star of the year as well. Interestingly enough, the trio of Fish, O'Reilly, and Adam Cole competed and won the very first ever War Games match in WWE. This matchup featured the Undisputed Era, the Authors of Pain with Roderick Strong as the honorary member, and of course Sanity. Huge match. And as time progressed, Kyle O'Reilly became the only person in NXT history to hold the tag team titles 3 times, with all 3 other members of the Undisputed Era. By the time we got to 2019, that was when everything started to light up for the Undisputed Era. As Adam Cole stated at the beginning of the year, that by the end of 2019, the Undisputed Era would hold all of the gold in NXT. And it started with Fish and O'Reilly becoming... Actually, it started with Adam Cole defeating Johnny Gargano for the NXT title at NXT TakeOver 25, which became arguably one of the most hyped NXT takeovers of all time. Fast forward a little over a couple of months later, and we saw Fish and O'Reilly defeat the Street Profits to become the NXT Tag Team Champions. This obviously led to both Taz and Dawkins getting called up to the main roster less than 2 months later. And then a little over a couple months later, after that, Roderick Strong became the NXT North American Champion, defeating the Velveteen Dream. Thus, their undisputed prophecy came to pass, and they became the only quartet in WWE history to walk inside a match, to walk into a premium live event without even having to defend their titles. And the only reason why was because at NXT TakeOver War Games, they were inside of War Games. And the reason for that was because Adam Cole had to defend the NXT Championship against Pete Dunne the very next night at Survivor Series, where, as opposed to Fish and O'Reilly, and of course Roderick Strong, they had their own triple threat matches in their own right. Obviously, excuse me. Obviously, Fish and O'Reilly, being the NXT Tag Team Champions, had to face off against the Raw Tag Team Champions and the SmackDown Tag Team Champions at that time. And then of course with the North American champion Roderick Strong, he had to go up against Shinsuke Nakamura, the Intercontinental Champion, and AJ Styles, the United States Champion. Survivor Series 2019 was, again, much like TakeOver 25, the most hyped premium live event in all of WWE in 2019. However, 2020 started to become a bit of started the downfall, if you will, for the Undisputed Era. But why? Why was that the case? Well, it turns out that according to the Wrestling Observer, Dave Meltzer and several other news outlets reported that all of their contracts with WWE was slated to expire right in the middle of the pandemic. In fact, they were slated to leave WWE by 2022, meaning that after that we would never see them again. There were rumors, however, that Adam Cole was slated to sign a new deal with WWE, having him stay in NXT for another couple years, and then getting called up to the main roster by 2024, if you can actually believe it, which was obviously last year. However, that was not the case for interesting reasons. We found out that we saw on NXT that Keith Lee became the NXT North American champion by defeating Roderick Strong. Then we saw Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle, known as the Broserweights, they defeated and became the NXT Tag Team Champions, again by defeating Fish and O'Reilly. This led to Adam Cole having to do the most drastic thing we would ever see. Fast forward to the Great American Bash. Adam Cole versus Keith Lee. Winner take all. The winner would become the only person, the only man in NXT to hold both the NXT title and the NXT North American title in a single reign. Keith Lee did the impossible of ending Adam Cole's reign as NXT champion. He then chose to relinquish the North American title to focus on the NXT title, which was a very noble thing for him to do. However, with Adam Cole, he ended up getting in the crosshairs of a man that we know on Monday Night Raw as arguably one of the best commentators that we've seen in a long time, known as Pat McAfee. The rivalry between both Pat and Adam Cole kind of started a few years prior when Pat McAfee said some things about Adam Cole that took a massive turn for the worst. In fact, it took a massive turn for the worst during the pandemic, during a match where Adam Cole was at ringside watching his guys do work. And this led to Adam Cole saying some mean things to Pat. Pat called him a feisty troll or something like that, and it just escalated. It blew up to the point where at NXT TakeOver 30 they competed in a one-on-one match against one another. Adam Cole picked up a massive victory, and we all thought that he was done. Unfortunately, the UE were unsuccessful in regaining championship gold. Why? Because of Pat McAfee aligning himself with Ridge Holland, Pete Dunne, Danny Burch, and Oney Lorcan, both of who ended up becoming NXT Tag Team Champions at that time. This led to the NXT General Manager William Regal making the match War Games, which was something that the Undisputed Era had wanted for a long time. Obviously, Pat McAfee's team won the advantage match, but they ended up losing to the Undisputed Era. And this led to Kyle O'Reilly getting a shot at the NXT Championship, while Roderick Strong and Adam Cole got an opportunity to compete in the Dusty Cup for the right to challenge for the NXT Tag Team titles. Obviously, yes, O'Reilly, Strong and Cole defeated Breezango in the first round, but they did not make it past the second round, unfortunately. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, let's see. Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Here we are. Let's see. If I'm not mistaken, the men's tournament, the men's on the men's side of the tournament, it was won by none other than MSK, Zachary Wentz and Wes Lee. And Wes Lee. Interestingly enough, we thought that the Undisputed Era was going to win it. Unfortunately, again, as I stated, they ended up losing. Let's see. If I'm not mistaken, I don't even know the tournament brackets. Doesn't even say. Yeah, unfortunately, Wikipedia doesn't even say. But yeah, they made it past the first round. Didn't make it past the second, unfortunately. But this led to Adam Cole getting upset over the fact that O'Reilly was getting the shot at the NXT title, which escalated at NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day in February of 2021. Finn Balor challenged Kyle O'Reilly because Balor saw the fire inside O'Reilly inside of War Games. This led to obviously Finn Balor picking up a huge victory over O'Reilly, but Adam Cole was not too fond of the idea. Even though Pete Dunne attacked O'Reilly because of the fact that O'Reilly got the shot at the NXT title. The rest of the UE saved both O'Reilly and Finn Balor. And Adam Cole did the unthinkable of turning heel by super kicking Finn Balor in the face. This led to the breakup of the Undisputed Era. At that time, Bobby Fish had just been released of his contract with WWE later on, less than a month and a half later. Which again led to the destruction of the Undisputed Era. Both Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly, they remained as the Undisputed Era. They had been in multiple tag team matches, but the moment Roderick Strong got hurt, if I remember correctly, he got hurt. Strong got hurt, and this led to Kyle O'Reilly just being on his own. This became the breakup of the Undisputed Era. And throughout all of 2021, Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly throughout the rest of the summer in 2021, both Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly had competed in a series of one-on-one matches, including being a part of a fatal five-way at TakeOver in Your House for the NXT title. This escalated to the final NXT TakeOver Premium Live event in history, that being NXT TakeOver 36, dubbing the Undisputed Finale. It was going to be 2 out of 3 falls, 3 stages of hell. The first stage of hell would be a traditional one-on-one match created by Kyle O'Reilly. The second match stipulated by Adam Cole would be a street fight. And then the last fall, if necessary, would be inside a steel cage, to which, if I remember correctly, if my memory serves right, and I believe my memory is, I believe, going back to my first book here, I believe it was... Let me see here. TakeOver 36. Here we are. 2 out of 3 falls. Yep, Kyle O'Reilly made Adam Cole tap out to a heel hug while handcuffed. So yes, it was indeed 3 stages of hell. The first stage obviously was going to be a traditional wrestling match. That was that was made official by Kyle O'Reilly. The second was by Adam Cole, was a street fight. Their fault, I believe, was indeed a steel cage, and Kyle O'Reilly picked up a massive victory, thus ending the era of the Undisputed Era. At that time, Adam Cole was slated was slated to sign a new deal with WWE under the condition that he had to give up his Twitch account. And unfortunately, Adam Cole chose to keep his Twitch account, and they ended up releasing him of his contract. During that whole process, during that whole rivalry of Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong returned to NXT, forming a new faction known as Diamond Mine that featured himself and two other NXT upstarts, along with a man by the name of Malcolm Bivens. This led to obviously one of those guys being released of his contract with WWE, and out comes the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile. This obviously led to Roderick Strong finally becoming NXT Cruiserweight Champion before the title got unified by Carmelo Hayes when he was the NXT North American Champion. That match alone took place in around 2021, 2022, and this led to Roderick Strong getting released of his contract silently, and we had no idea. However, by the end of 2021, Kyle O'Reilly and a man by the name of Von Wagner teamed up to challenge for the NXT Tag Team titles. Obviously, they lost, which led to Von Wagner attacking O'Reilly, forcing O'Reilly to want a steel cage match. Vaughn picked up the victory, and thus Kyle O'Reilly left WWE because his contract, from what I remember, was going to expire. This became a very huge deal for WWE because, in my opinion, Vince McMahon dropped the ball with all four men. Those four men had a lot of potential to go to the main roster as a quartet and completely dominate WWE, but that ended up being taken over by Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. But the question is, where are they now? Well, as far as Bobby Fish goes, he's currently working the independent scene. And just, not only is he working the independent scene, but from what I've been hearing, he has his own wrestling school in his hometown in Albany, New York. Where, as far as the other three go, they are now working with a promotion known as AEW. Adam Cole signed with AEW a little over a couple years ago, and then several months, and then about a year, I want to say several months after that, Kyle O'Reilly joined the fold, and then Roderick Strong joined the fold, and now all three, from what I've been hearing, are now a trio once again, which leads the question: could we see the Undisputed Era sign with WWE once again? Could we even see one of them sign with WWE once again? And the answer is yes. And the reason being is because the Undisputed Era, as I stated at the top of the video, became one of the most dominant but one of the most charismatic factions in all of WWE in NXT history. And the weird thing is that we all thought that once they all became champion together, we thought that they were gonna be champions and take NXT past the COVID era of WWE. However, that unfortunately did not become the case. So it's very possible, But the question is, would WWE be dropping the ball again once they get signed, or would they be able to thrive under the new regime of WWE currently being ran by Triple H? Only time will tell. But I will say that I grew fond of the Undisputed Era simply because they were incredible in the ring. They were incredible on the mic. Their backstage segments were incredible, and those four men became arguably one of the most beloved and one of the most respected quartets we had ever seen in history. But only time will tell. No one knows. No one really knows if their contracts with AEW are going to come up soon. There hasn't really been any news on that yet, but I will say that when their contracts with AEW do expire, I can guarantee you that WWE will not hesitate to sign them back. And who knows? Maybe we might see Bobby Fish come back. Only time will tell. But with that being said, that will do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more WWE stories in the future, then be sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and as always, make sure you guys are following me on all my social media. All my ads will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.